Today is the 17th of November. And the 17th of November is both an auspicious and a very, very deeply entrenched moment for a lot of us who are part of the Shri Aurobindo faculty. So what happened on 17th of November? On the 17th of November, the mother, Mira Alfasa, gave up her physical body. So why is it so important for us? It is important because she gave up her physical body, but a lot of us, the hero warrior children of hers, have a lot of work to do. She was an educator. She was the spiritual collaborator of Shri Aurobindo. She made Pondicherry Ashram, Auroville, and the Delhi Ashram where I belong to. Why are we bringing that into a lit fest? Is it a moment of religion, or is it a deep connect to who she was, a French woman who came and settled in Pondicherry to guide a lot of people for the way ecology, culture, and food traditions should go on. So the mother has been our inspiration. And when I said I felt her presence yesterday, how did I feel her presence? I felt her presence through Janhavi's gracious mum, Kantaji, who was there behind the scene, the mother who was always there. Janhavi and her team of advisors, her team behind the scene who are working. But more than that, they were the storytellers yesterday. And each storyteller, each writer, beginning with the beautiful Karma, whom we all saw and fell in love with. That is a celebration of childhood. I'm going to link it to our book. So Karma, with her beautiful rendering with her father. And what did they render? They rendered a very beautiful, significant song from Bhutan. That the mind has to be tamed. The mind can actually be like pure milk or a target which can go directly. So the mind is not the only organ when you learn. Mind is not knowledge. Mind is only a receiver of knowledge. Is what this little child set up yesterday. And we saw her as a happy child. Do we need more in education? And then came Shekhar Pathak ji and Anup Shah, who like children have dreams for the Himalayas. Understanding the fragility of the Himalayas. Understanding also that whether it is Bhutan, whether it is Nepal, or for that matter, it is India, we are part of the same range. So the mountains who hold us. Karma's song today again gives me the goosebumps because she really talked of mother. And then came many other speakers. I'm not taking their names in the order in which they spoke. But then there was Sujit from Nepal, who's actually become a brand ambassador for us to have one passport called the Himalayan passport without boundaries. So thank you for bringing that to us. There was Anish, the judge of the High Court, who wrote poetry for his own children, but maybe not realizing that there is a little child within who too wanted to write. There was the cookbook, where there were stories of the life in Nainital and the clinking of glasses, the tinkling of cutlery, and how the story comes Though the woman has moved to Nepal, but she holds that childhood within. There is our dear Miss Gokhale, who is not just a prolific writer, but the soul behind a lot of festivals like this. And what did she say? She talked about the deodars and the pine cones that she brings in her writings. So childhood never goes. It never really goes. Jennifer brought in so beautifully, no half measures. Her willful childlike persona again needs to be preserved at any age, because there are no half measures in life. Now, what is the connection of this to the book? We will discover. But before we do that, Mother's Day, 17th November is celebrated in the ashram as a day of meditation. It is as a day of meditation. And if it is a day of meditation, then what kind of meditation should we do? It's a meditation about connecting to the child within, who's very much part of the Khushali project that we do. So the linkages between the Khushali project and the meditation that we can hold on for 2 minutes as we all gradually close our eyes, listening to the music, but discovering and connecting to the little children, to the little boy, girl, any gender we are. So the music, and we'll all close our eyes for a moment to look at Khushali. As the music fades and we come to the here and now, please carry the little child that too is in us, along with the adult, and the needs of this little child. Because that is where Project Khushali really invested in the children of the valley. We speak a lot, but it is actually when we start working, and the ashram invested 5 kilometers around Madhuban Shri Aurobindo Ashram in Talaramgarh to look at education from the lens of a child's eyes.
Thank you, Anju. As always, you're so dedicated to children. You understand their minds, their hearts, their needs, their wants, for their daily needs, their lives. You're so sensitive about children and what they need to learn, child-centric education. But I'm going to put you into a little time machine, and I'm going to take you back 23 years ago, when, sitting in the middle of a forest with one or two little cottages, you built the beautiful gardens along with an expert and dedicated team. And the facilities came up as if by Aladdin's magic. Was it magic? Tell us about it. Tell us also about your journey, your sojourn with the community for education and livelihoods. Tell us, Anju, about the backdrop of this book that we call a tapestry of ecology, culture, and food traditions in Talla Ramgarh. So, have you got onto your magic carpet? Are you ready?
You know what really happens is sometimes the cherry on the cake is noticed more than the actual pudding beneath. And I have just been fortunate to be there as the cherry. It was Qurban Hussain who donated the land to us. It was Tara Jauhar, now Padam Shri Tara Jauhar, who actually dedicated and gave us that whole canvas to paint upon. They were the two architects, Parag and Nilanjan, who were friends, and I told them, we don't have any money. Will you help? They not only helped us, they also sometimes paid for their design, which we couldn't execute. There is Meera Juneja sitting here, who's done the gardens with all her love and all her passion. So have I been alone? I haven't. But yes, I do get a lot of credit, which I don't really look at it because I've been a custodian. And that's why stepping back is always easy for me. But coming to the genesis of the book, I really came to Talla Ramgarh more as a resource person. Young, from my college, university teaching background, to come and think that in Delhi I know everything. From my degrees abroad, I know everything. And I can really, really teach these children. And when I stepped into there, they too looked at me with the eyes of a lot of expectations. Because they felt, here is Anju Didi dressed in a little different manner. I wasn't Anju Didi in the beginning. So she can teach us. And I realized I had nothing to teach them. They had these beautiful mountains. They had this gurgling river at that time. They had the flora and the fauna. They had everything. But they did not value it. Because their curriculum was very alien to it. I'm so glad that the song of the yak came today. Because in Bhutan, you celebrate the yak. And you own it up. It's a land where you're happy because you're owning your culture. But here, the British-led culture was making these children forget Kumaoni and be embarrassed of their mothers not knowing English. And that is how we started working. And then the mothers one day very nicely said, since this lady has come, since Anju Didi has come, our children are not studying. They're dancing. They're singing. They become storytellers. They keep playing all the time. They're not even given homework in the school now. So we realized that if we need to work on integral education, as propounded by Shri Aurobindo, not as a sage alone, but as an educator who went to take his degrees. So it was very important for me to understand Shri Aurobindo as an integral educationist, with all his principles of education. So we had to work with the mothers. I had no background of livelihoods. I was a spoiled brat from my home. No idea of anything. And here, listening to these women, I knew they had to be involved in the process. And by default, the Livelihood Project started. And we followed the principle, one of Shri Aurobindo's principles, from near to far. We asked these women, what is it that you know? And one woman said, I know knitting. The other said, I know stitching. The third said, I know this, food processing. And we suddenly realized we can only enhance their skill. We will begin with what they know. And that's how the Livelihood Project and the Khushaali Project came into being. And that forms the genesis of the need, not just to write this book, this is the third book. And you have been part of that journey.
Absolutely. And so we start another little journey into the time machine, onto the magic carpet, steps two grey-haired women, friends for over 20 years. They come to Madhuban, they look at the tall magnolia trees, they look around at the beautiful flora and the fauna, they hear the birds sing, and they fall in love. And they want to be at Madhuban. They want to absorb the beauty and the abundance. But they're also workaholics. They worked all their lives. They feel they maybe can contribute a little to what Anju is doing. So then, the three-author team that we really miss Dr. Anjali Kapila, who's worked in the mountains for 25 years. But I'd like to ask Anju to tell us a little bit about the valley that Sri Aurobindo called his foothold in the Himalayas, and what the children of the schools, how does that resonate? How does the beauty of the bounty resonate with the children of the schools?
You know, I'll give you some very dear small examples. The children were studying about orangutans when I came. They were studying about camels. They were studying about some parts which were not part of their daily experience. So I think one of the main banes of work at Khushaali is to localize things. We've been talking since yesterday about localizing things. So it was very important for us to localize that entire aspect of using the principle of what is near the children and then take them far. They had a river which was once gurgling, but the river was drying. There was the cloudburst. People like us, otherwise had I not been there, the cloudburst would have been a news item. But the cloudburst was a reality for the children. And they had to come the next day to study maths and history and geography, which was not connected to their reality. And their reality was that their cattle had been washed away. Their homes had been washed away. There was no food. Yes, the ashram was helping. We were sending food and blankets and everything. And so was the the whole machinery, the government machinery was helping. But there was a trauma that these children also were with. We needed an articulation of that through drawing, working on the drawing, through poetry these children could look into, through artwork that they could create. And it was not expected out of us to do this because the curriculum was different. They had to finish a syllabus. I have students sitting here, they'll relate to it. They had to do a curriculum syllabus in the midst of a cloudburst and the havoc that it kept. So it was important for us to see the disconnect which education has. So this book really has come more as a reminder to us that can we create a curriculum? And many of us in our childhood, if we remember, when I talked of the tinkling of the cutlery, or I spoke about the deodar tree which comes into my book, or the author's book, where does it come from? Those childhood memories will be so traumatic if they are not dealt with. And the maths does come out, because the maths comes out once the child is walking from the home down the hill. So we created a curriculum which was the children started mapping. So it was not all negative. We looked at what the children were doing And we started creating a curriculum around that. We used techniques of design think and mind mapping and all that. But the children were now connecting to their flora and fauna. They understood that when they come from their home, what is the path to take? And there is geometry and geography there. And I think these were the things when you people joined. You brought in the food traditions, because I was not a food person at all. I was just hardcore looking at doing other things. So I brought in ecology to the schoolroom. I brought the culture. Mr. Pathak was here yesterday, and these children were reading and learning a very alien kind of literature. They had no connect to the value that this whole area has towards somebody like Girda or somebody like Rabindranath Tagore, who wrote his Gitanjali, sitting here when he wrote, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, into that valley of freedom, let my country awake. But what is that valley of freedom? He was part of the Ramgarh when he was writing Gitanjali. When Shri Aurobindo talked of it as a writer, his work is all about the mountains. And in 1901, when he came here and he's writing about the mountains, he's actually looking at and saying, this is the valley of divine love. But where is it mentioned? Where are the here and now things in the curriculum of the children? So I know this is not a storybook. It's not one of those odd things that you put in LitFest. But it's a very important document to take things further for more stories and more things to come out of this. And that is the genesis of this book, and that is the need that we have here.
Yeah. So Anjali and I were, as was said, and Anju said, we're always interested in food. But how did that come about? When we talk to children, kya khana pasand karte ho? What do you like to eat? What do you bring in your lunch boxes? You know the answer. Maggi burger. Maggi burger. What's your favorite food when you go to a wedding? Maggi burger. So we talked to the mothers, and the mothers said, oh, we make rotis for ourselves, we make gehet ka dal for ourselves. Children don't eat it. There's always a pressure from my mother-in-law to make it. But I'm torn between what my children want to eat, what I want to eat, and what my husband eats outside. So these are the kinds of little trajectories and conflicts that have come out in this book. That what they grow and what they eat, there is a disconnect. And therefore, with this disconnect, with healthy foods going out of the diet, income, diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, aches and pains, fatigue, you know the lot. The other thing we noticed and we've documented is that foods like kueh and sai are cooked only during festivals. And some of these festivals have a very deep connect with what Anju was saying, and the children know as being part of nature. Phool Dei, for instance, Harela, for instance, which celebrates nature, and then you make these foods and you offer them to nature, and then the children eat it. So our question in the book is, why don't you have these foods at least twice or thrice a month so your children develop a taste for it? But you know what's happening to Uttarakhand? How many Maggi points do you see on your drive down the road? So these are the disconnects which we've explored. These are the stories, the narratives that we have tried to build about intergenerational knowledge transfer. What the grandmother eats and what the grandchild eats, and the woman in the middle. So this is this gives you a vignette. And now I'd like to, I think, just conclude.
We have time. We have to conclude.
Yes. To conclude with, what's the hope? What's the way forward? Where are we going with this book?
You know, we would like to we'll have time for questions? No? Okay. Well, that's very sad. Okay, all right. So I'll be available to answer questions from the students. That is something I really want to do, even if we don't have time. But all I want to say is, we want to really take things like this, which the village women make, into your classrooms. It's a small marigold, but it has its own narrative and story. You can do geometry through it. You can do so many hand skills through it. The whole idea really is that maybe it is a different kind of a book, but this has to be followed by a lot of support from people sitting here to carry what the children and what the women of this area really need. Thank you very much. I'll wind up.
Thank you for your attention.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.